And what is this? Time is running out to win the blockchain race. Tech and financial services companies might think they have plenty of time to develop a blockchain strategy. If history is a guide, they don't, says Ernst and Young's blockchain leader. I know about Ernst and Young and them being one of the big three go-tos in finance. And so when they speak, take it seriously. It says history is full of companies that missed out on big technological changes. Many of them thought they were carefully timing their participation in the market, but I believe they may have been looking at the wrong measures of adoption and consequently made the wrong decisions. That pattern is about to repeat itself with blockchain. The issue here is that when it comes to technology, the battle over standards and market leadership is usually decided before mass adoption. The result is that by the time most companies notice that the market is entering a mass adoption phase, it's too late to change the course of the market. The market for personal computers arguably started in 1977. A decade later, in 1987, less than 15% of all American households had a personal computer, but by then, Microsoft Windows was a market leader with more than half the market. The pattern repeated itself in the smartphone category. Nicoa can be said to have kicked off the market with the Symbian ecosystem in the year 2000. Email-focused smartphones followed in 2003, and then touch-based smartphones in 2007. By 2011, even though adoption was still less than about 20% of the market, we already had the same two market leaders we know today. The pattern appears to have largely repeated itself in the world of cloud computing and networking systems. Even though both markets are largely based on open source technologies and well understood published standards, they remain dominated by the original leaders, even after decades of determined and big spending competition. The market leader in networks has a 50% share, and the market leader in cloud has a 32% share. And so, there is a lesson here for the world of blockchain. Time is running out. That's true for alternative blockchains, for legacy players, for everyone who isn't already knee deep in this business to become a serious player. Depending on the starting point you select, Bitcoin in 2009 or Ethereum in 2015, we are 7 to 12 years into this market development. Estimates vary, but the more reliable ones point to between 8% and 10% of all Americans already own cryptocurrency. The window to create a leadership position seems to close around 10 to 12 years after a market is created, and so that time is near if it hasn't already arrived. So what they're saying is we are 7 to 12 years into this market development, and they're saying the window to create a leadership position seems to close around 10 to 12 years after a market is created. So this is a very good time to be at least researching blockchain for yourself and making a decision whether you want to invest in it or not. So it's not too late. The most astonishing aspect about market leadership in the technology is how little it depends on the technology itself. Not only would you have been in good company for choosing different smartphones or PCs, you would have also been right in pointing out the enormous flaws in the market leaders. A black and white PC in 1985, only 640 kilobytes of memory. The same kinds of absurdities can be found in the world of blockchain. The carbon footprint for Bitcoin and the transaction gas fees, the fee required to successfully conduct the transaction on Ethereum, can only be described as obscene. They call it obscene, and I believe so too. I mean, you don't even want to buy anything if you have to spend Ethereum just to move it around, just to transact with it. I mean, it's got to get better. Oh, and it does get better. It gets better with XRP. It gets better with XLM, and it gets better with many others. These problems did not destroy their ecosystems, however. They got fixed, often imperfectly and with much grumbling, and people moved on. When PCs with extended memory arrived, the solution was criticized as a clumsy workaround. People bought them in huge numbers anyway, expect roughly the same reception to any solution to Bitcoin's carbon footprint. I believe the dominant players in the world of blockchain are clearly visible now as well. Bitcoin represents a bigger market capitalization than every other blockchain combined and appears to be on track to become the preferred digital store of value. Likewise, Ethereum has more developers than every other blockchain combined, and this is similarly on track to becoming the preferred economic infrastructure for the next generation of developers. At the same time, companies like Aave, Binance, Coinbase, and Compound Labs are busy staking out the high ground in the economic system around specific value propositions. I've spent 5 years at Ernst & Young doing everything I can to make sure that we don't just participate in this market, but that we lead it. I don't think I will know if we succeeded for another decade, but I am sure that the critical time is now. And I find myself struggling at times to communicate to others my intense sense of urgency in a market that many think is just in its infant stages, which is actually what I was thinking. I was thinking that this market is just pretty much starting, but this is kind of making me understand that we have been in it for a while. We've been in it from between 7 to 12 years. That's a pretty long time. If there is one final reason to act with urgency, it's not just that the window for market leadership is closing, it is also unlikely to reopen. There were better operating systems back in 1987 than the market leaders, and that was also true in 2000, 2010, and 2020. The most astonishing aspect about market leadership in technology is how little it depends on the technology itself. There is always something better out there. The strength of the platform may have started in the technology, but in the end, it is much more driven by the total investment, the installed base, and the developer community. In the next year or two, you can expect many technologies and financial service companies to explain their plans to enter the blockchain market. In nearly every case, they will cite the low penetration of the technology in their industry or market as evidence that it's early days yet, and they have plenty of time to formulate their strategy and leverage their legacy market position. It isn't. They don't. And so the guy who wrote this is Paul Brody, and he is a global blockchain leader for Ernst & Young. Under his leadership, Ernst & Young has established a global presence in the blockchain space with a particular focus on public blockchains, assurance, and business application development in the Ethereum ecosystem. That's all I have to say for today. Please like, please subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.